ever notice how these sundaes have strata? They do. See? There's a layer of hot fudge, then a layer of ice cream, and then more hot fudge. I guess because Mom's an archaeologist, I noticed stuff like that.
That's fascinating.
And delicious.
Well, that looks incredible.
Oh, you want a bite?
Ooh, well, maybe just a taste.
Here, have some.
That's enough.
Sabrina, we're sharing.
She has coffee.
I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother, I'm a sinner, I'm a saint. I do not feel ashamed. I'm your hell, I'm your dream. I'm nothing in between. You know you wouldn't want it any other way. So take me as I am.
Ladies, gentlemen, Bobby baby, Bobby booby, welcome to episode number 20 of Sabrina's Witch Trials. This is the show where each episode I grab a friend and we go back into the mid-1990s to rewatch, review, and reminisce all about everybody's favorite Friday Night Spellfest, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I'm Alex Araujo, of course, and folks, can you smell it? Can you smell the bitchiness in the air? Can you feel the temperature dropping from all the shade about to be thrown on this episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch? Folks, we're going to be talking episode number 20, Meeting Dad's Girlfriend, and my God, does Sabrina become a massive asshole in this episode. Get ready, folks. Of course, each episode of the Witch Trials, I grab a guest, as I said. This episode, I've grabbed one of everybody's favorite guests, certainly one of mine, because he's always there when I need him. My brother and yours, definitely mine, almost definitely not yours. Fil Araujo's here. Phil, noted child of the 90s Araujo, no child of the 80s Araujo. How you doing?
I was a child in the 90s as well, Al, but good. How are you?
That is true, but I want to make you seem older as compared to hip young Al.
That's true. Al is a baby of the 90s.
That's true. That's why I'm always posing on skateboards to make myself look younger and or hipper.
Yeah, you were kind of a Bart Simpson type, weren't you?
Can you imagine me actually on a skateboard? Like, I'm clumsy standing in an empty room.
It's like a scarecrow on a skateboard, pretty much.
I am tall and thin. My head is made of loose wheat.
Well, yeah, sure, if you say so.
A lot of pomade in that wheat, but what are you going to do? Phil, how you been?
I've been all right. How are you?
I'm doing just great. I mean, what person that has a Sabrina Teenage Witch podcast could be doing any less than great? None of them.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. I've had a couple episode hiatus, but I'm glad to be back and ready to go.
That's right. Your contract stipulates that you get 2 episodes off for every 2 episodes on. So you and Chris are both signed to those contracts.
Very union teamster of us.
That's right. You sat me down. 3-day deliberations, but we finally got you to sign on the dotted line. So here you are. Phil, it's going to be a fun episode. I remember this as being one of my personal favorites growing up as a kid, but looking back, I think we were talking about this before the show, it doesn't seem like all that much really happens.
Not much happens, and it's one of those things that it doesn't hold up very well to time, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. A couple of places that they go to.
The Chinese dinner, perhaps?
The ice skating, the ice capades they went to.
Yes.
Or the arcade, which I have a page of notes on just arcade-related things.
Perfect. We all loved Scott Hamilton, didn't we? In the 1997. But before we get into the episode, Phil, you know, because you're an old pro at this, each episode of the Witch Trials, I ask my guests to describe the episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch that we watched together in a set number of words. And seeing as this episode got 14.1 million viewers, I'm going to ask you to describe it in 13 words, which is 14 minus 1.
Oh, God. Okay. Here we go.
13 words, give it to me.
Sabrina, Harvey, and her dad go to the ice show and have fun.
Well done, Phil.
Thank you.
That is 13 words. It describes somewhat of this episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
A very specific scene.
That's right. And I don't know if any of them actually have much fun, but
Sabrina did.
I guess she why not?
With her flashlight.
She did. Although she goes She does mention that it's not as much fun as it used to be.
That's right.
But fair and true that description is. Episode number 20, Meeting Dad's Girlfriend, first aired April 4th, 1997. 14.1 million viewers on the night. A 9 rating, a 16 share, and the 33rd most viewed piece of television that given week on broadcast TV. We open with Hilda entering the kitchen only to find Sabrina growling with distress while trying to open a jar of every teen's favorite snack, nondescript tomato sauce. After they both try and fail to open the jar, Zelda enters and, upon hearing their trouble, offers to show them a trick, tapping the lid to break the seal, which also quickly fails. Remembering the title of the show, Zelda then suggests using some magic, which Sabrina does, though to no avail, before giving up and walking off. This leaves Zelda to make an oddly phallocentric point that, while magic is great, sometimes you really need a man around the house, as we go to the open, Phil.
You know, it's great having supernatural powers, but for some things, we could really use a man around the house.
An interesting, really weird, confusing as fuck, some might say, open to Sabrina the Teenage Witch. What did you think?
Well, it was a little weird. I mean, it had nothing really to do with the episode. And I mean, you were kind of sitting there thinking, if you're just watching it, you're like, okay, what does pasta sauce have to do with this episode?
Yes.
And as you'll see later on, it has zero to do with the episode.
Next to nothing.
Yeah. Hilda did walk in and ask why she was growling like a bear.
Yes.
I don't know if you caught that. She did kind of growling like a bear, like grunting.
She really wanted that, like, dollar store tomato sauce real bad.
Hilda said it's all in the wrist, though.
Why the fuck did Sabrina want to open this jar of tomato sauce so goddamn bad?
I didn't see a pot boiling. Did you see a pot of pasta
there
boiling?
Was nothing. What? Maybe she's making pizza bagels. That's a very 90s thing.
Maybe a little chicken cacciatore was being made in the oven.
I mean, what the hell? Also, you are a witch. You can zap in food. We've seen you do it multiple times.
Yeah, but it's usually disgusting stuff. What was that thing called again? I forget.
Oh, canapes?
The canapes, yeah.
Canapes or butter thumbs, if you want to go back to episode 3.
Oh, yes. Canapes.
It is weird, though, that magic isn't able to open the jar. Like, the last time magic it wasn't able to do something with, like, the biosphere, at least they explained that it was, like, number 7 plastic or something that repels magic.
Also, it doesn't do well with tomato paste.
Apparently. Like, oh, it's too zesty. It reflects it.
Whoever knew that the biggest stopper of magic was ragu.
Yeah, fucking Chef Boyardee is a real magic hunter.
And then Zelda proclaims that magic is great and all, but it'd be great to have a man around the house.
Yeah. What was that? Like we'll get to it later when the aunties literally have an argument about sexism.
And what are we teaching the kids of America?
Apparently, you don't need to put tomato sauce on anything. That's the main lesson. Just open the jar.
No, more like, you don't need a man in your life unless it's to open a tomato jar. Then you need a man.
As long as you order takeout, you're fine living alone.
Also, this posed a question to me, Al. The question was, so are men more useful than magic?
No, in literally no way are men more useful than magic. Like, and I'm a man. Like, I'll be straight up honest with you. I know I'm not as useful as magic. Like, just in the last 20 episodes, what magic has been able to do, nope, I couldn't have done most of that shit. And the male representation on the show, Harvey, really couldn't have done any of that shit.
I don't know. I think you got to open that jar, though.
Give me 2 hours.
You got those long fingers, man. You got some hand strength. I've seen you in action before.
I do have very muscular hands because it's literally like all bone and muscle fiber. But
I think you would have had that thing cracked open in no time.
Well, I mean, I was gonna make it. Well, I'll save the masturbation jokes for later when I have a really good one. One other thing I had to note here, Phil, was I don't know if you saw Sabrina's appearance here. Her clothes looked like fine, unoffensive, inoffensive. But I did notice that the black pants she was wearing made her ass look incredible.
Oh,
Like-
I
like-
didn't look at it that closely, Al.
Shockingly good.
Hmm.
I mean, real good. Like, either she's wearing space pants or ABC Studios has an amazing leg training gym. Because, my God, she does not skip leg day.
I mean, this is probably, this is well before the legging phenomenon that we live
Oh,
in
yeah.
currently.
If these were just like black Lycra pants.
I didn't notice that, but I appreciate you bringing it up.
Also, she had one weird single braid in her hair.
Hmm.
Like, her hair wasn't braid. It was just like normal down hair, but on one side of her head, there was one braid.
Now,
'Cause she's...
to the the opening with
Yes.
the credits, did you see what she did, her mirror moment?
Yeah, I believe she's a scientist and she makes a bad joke about electrons.
Yes, she says free electrons while they'll last.
I'm sure that's a joke that some science person gets.
Yeah, I mean, if we were the geeks from that geek show, what's that show, Al?
Bill Nye the Science Guy?
no, in the 21st century, not the
Bill Nye Saves the World, which is this new one, I think.
Bill Nye can't do anything. No, the Big Bang Theory, Al.
Yes.
I mean, if we were one of the Big Bang Theory guys, we'd probably be rolling, be rolled over like laughing. But
If we were Sheldon, Raj, or the Jewish one.
yes, or the Jewish one. If we were any of those three, I would say yes. But I was just, I had a puzzling look on my face, and
Befuddled.
It probably was a warning of what was to come.
Yeah, so let's get back to the great comedy, though, Phil. In her room, Sabrina is talking to her father, Ted, about his visit as she gets ready for school. And when he asks what she wants to do this weekend, she offers the incredibly dull plan of the ice show and suggests inviting Harvey. Ted is into it, which scares Sabrina, but he promises that it'll just be a casual meeting between a father and his daughter's first serious boyfriend. Sabrina is then sarcastically glad that he understands, and heads to school.
Come on, I really want to meet him.
Okay, but you can't make a big deal out of it.
I won't. It'll just be a casual meeting between a father and his daughter's first serious boyfriend.
I'm glad you understand.
Downstairs, Sabrina runs into her aunts and asks them to go to the ice show as well, which they pretty strongly aren't into. Until, of course, they find out that Harvey and Ted are going to be meeting for the first time. But Sabrina says that it's too bad since they already said no, so go fuck yourselves and eat your weird melons that you're eating. At Westbridge, Harvey, in a hideous striped shirt, feigns excitement about meeting Ted before realizing that he should have worn an undershirt. He tries to find something that they might have in common, but is sad to hear that Ted isn't into sports or cars or military aircrafts. That makes two of us. He eventually realizes that they can just talk about Sabrina, which she immediately shoots down, and rightfully so. Later, arriving back home, Sabrina runs past Salem, who gives her shit about it, but she just explains that she's super excited to see Ted. Also, evidently Salem doesn't know what day of the week it is.
Fine, don't say hi.
Sorry, Salem. I'm just so excited about seeing my dad.
Has it been a month already?
Yeah.
But today's Tuesday, right?
No. Friday.
Man, I was way off.
Inside, Sabrina finds that Hilda is still trying to open that stupid jar of tomato sauce with the help of some practical effects, spinning the table, looking real good, but not opening the jar itself. She fails, as obviously a woman would, opening a jar, come on. And Zelda just tells her to wait until Ted arrives, but Hilda tells her that she's being sexist, and they get into a protracted argument about the physical differences between men and women. That is cut off, eventually, thankfully, by the arrival of the Ted-beat dad himself, who comes down the stairs using a beastly voice to stop their bickering. A voice he apparently attained from their father. Eventually, hugging them all, Ted gives Sabrina a magic camera that takes photos instantly. Basically a Polaroid, only chunkier and gold, but it does have the added advantage of blinding the people in its viewfinder with a solar flare-like flash. Phil.
Yes, sir.
Heading back to Westbridge, actually heading back to Sabrina's room,
Okay.
I want to talk about the outfits in these scenes.
Okay, let's go.
Let's start with Sabrina and her ridiculous old lady, like, cream
Beige on beige?
pants and shirts.
You mean the beige on beige?
What the fuck is with this? She looks like she's, like, straight out of a mediocre Boca Raton retirement home.
Yeah, it looked terrible. It really did.
And it's got a huge collar, too?
Yeah, and she wears it for about 3/4 of this episode. She's in that beige on beige the whole episode.
Honestly, it's not, and like she's wearing beige heels with it too. It's like, the fuck.
It's beige on beige on beige.
God, then we get to Westbridge and we see Harvey in his honestly just ludicrous vertical striped shirt with like blue and peach stripes.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down. We opened in Westbridge where Harvey is wearing a striped blue and peach shirt. Looks terrible.
I mean, this is he a streetwise 70s TV detective? That's what it looked like.
No, it looks like he had a shirt with blue stripes on it, and he washed it in the wrong color setting, and it went all over the place, is what it looked like.
God, I mean, listen, I know you and Sabrina have been dating for like a month or so. You still gotta try. Like,
yeah, you always gotta try.
You can't just like let yourself go to shit now when she's willing to like be next to you. What'd you have here, Phil?
So I do have a controversy, Al.
Dude, a controversy.
I have a controversy, okay?
My life has been steeped in it.
So we meet Sabrina's dad, okay?
Indeed.
Who you
call... we did hear from him in the first episode, actually.
That is correct. But we also in the opening scene we see that she's in her room.
Mm-hmm.
The book is open, and the name there is not Ted, but
is it Edward?
It is Edward.
But
everybody calls him Ted.
Yeah.
So, is his name Ted or is it Ed?
I think he goes by Ted, but his full name is Edward.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird because there's no T in his name.
Right.
And you would figure Ted would be short for like Theodore.
Correct.
But this is the least egregious thing that Ted does in this episode. I think it's a lot funnier that when Salem and Sabrina are talking before Sabrina goes inside, he's like, "Has it been a month already?" No, bitch. It's been 6.5 months. I did the math. We saw you in episode 1 in September, and it's early April.
Well, I mean, maybe it's something that we're not looking at. Maybe he's like, maybe he comes over on the weekends when, nobody's home filming.
When the cameras are all gone.
The cameras are off.
Listen, there's a reason I call him the Ted Beat Dad, and it's not because he's a great father.
All right. We'll let you keep your terminology, but
we'll let you keep the obvious title of this episode.
But yes, but everywhere else it has his name as Ed.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, I don't know if it's Ed or Ted or if they just messed it up and they're just like, just go with it.
Judging by his mustache and like half goatee, it might be Eduardo.
So we meet Ed or Ted, one of them. We meet one of them. We meet Edward, who is played by Robbie Benson. And Al, do you know some of Robbie Benson's most famous showings?
No, but I do believe he either wrote or directed the first episode of Sabrina.
No. The voice, if you listen to it closely, is the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, the animated movie.
Is it actually?
It is, yes.
Because it sounds a lot like it, and I'm like, it might be, but I didn't bother to look it up. But I'll totally buy it.
Nope, he is absolutely... Robbie Benson played the Beast in Beauty and the Beast, the animated movie.
Man, he jumped from one ABC or one Disney property to another, I guess.
So yeah, so if you hear a little bit of the of the Beast in that grunt voice that he makes of his of their father, that's him. That's the Beast.
It's so sexy.
Men happen to have more upper body strength. That is not the
That's enough out of both of you. Don't make me use the voice.
Hey, you made it.
Hi, Sabrina. Hello, Ted.
Oh, I hate that voice. You sound just like father.
I know. It's terrifying.
Sometimes I even scare myself.
It is also funny because like he has like the softest, girliest speaking voice.
He does.
Like,
Hi. Hello, Sabrina.
Honestly, when he showed up in that fucking getup, I'm like, holy shit, it's literally Edgar Allan Poe.
Hello, Sabrina. How are you?
Who wants to hear a poem about
The
dead
sisters,
hearts?
you will listen to us.
Honestly, it's kind of hilarious because he's in this big cape for some reason. Which, why in God's name is he wearing a cape? When Gail comes out of the book later, she's just wearing like a '90s business suit.
Well, she's a lawyer, Al.
Yeah, but what is his job that he's wearing? Is he an Edgar Allan Poe impersonator in the other realm?
He's the international man of mystery, Al. Capes are required.
God, so dumb. Also, I think it's kind of interesting that they play against expectations where Hilda is the more overtly feminist of the two aunts. Because she's the one saying, oh, Zelda, you're being sexist. I mean, you would expect Zelda, the more traditionally learned one, to be the one that's offended by the notion that men would be the ones to open jars. But I guess she does use like a science reasoning.
I mean, they have more upper body strength.
I guess. I think it's a smart move on their part to like not make Hilda the stereotypically dumb one and Zelda the stereotypically smart one all the time. Anything else to add here, Phil?
Yeah, how about that list that Sabrina was going over with Harvey about So Harvey's like, does your dad like sports? She's like, no. Does he know anything about cars? No. How about military aircraft? I don't know. To me, it sounds like I want to hang out with Harvey because he sounds like he's a pretty cool dude. I'm interested in all three of those things.
I think I'd rather hang out with Ted. He might give me a camera. He might read me a poem. He'll take me to a lovely Chinese dinner.
We'll see about dinner. But the camera, the camera that you said that we talked about, yeah, I mean, it is 2017, so we do have digital cameras, but it's funny. It's like, oh, if you take a picture of it instantly, it'll show up. I'm like, yeah, we have that. Everybody has that.
It's also that is true. It's also great that if you look at the camera itself, it's like the shittiest like prop camera you've ever seen. Like it's got like binoculars on the back. Like
it looks like one of those cameras that you get like a 3-year-old. Like my first camera.
It looks like a Fisher Price viewfinder. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you take a picture and it's like a lamb. It's like I didn't look at the lamb. Why is there a lamb in my viewfinder?
Amazing. Okay.
One more thing, real quick, before we move on. Did you see Sabrina's brown jacket?
I did see her brown jacket with her cream suit, and it looked real dumb.
It reminded me of the Marlboro Man.
Gosh.
I
don't know.
I'm like,
what
oh
is
my
with
god!
The fashion
I said, this beige disaster. How could it get worse? Oh, yep. Let's add a brown coat to it. That'll make it worse.
She should have borrowed Zelda's like pea green coat.
Oh, we'll talk about that here in a minute.
Okay, so we then see Ted struggling over the jar, as Sabrina says he's been doing it for 2 hours. He eventually opens it to little fanfare, just in time for dinner, but an agitated Hilda says that she's mad at Italian food. Sabrina says she feels like Chinese, so Ted says it's on him before zapping in a Chinese banquet, complete with stereotypically Asian decor and outfits for all of them.
Peking duck, anyone?
Yeah, they then begin eating and speaking in Chinese while giving us a funny moment where Hilda tells them that she can't understand them, while saying this in Chinese.
看什么超真好吃。
oui，前来真凶。
种种北京管牙。
你说的话一点天音不当。
人你又还说3天。
哦，真是啦！谁有我的冰淇淋？
我要。
我去看看 Salem Yoshima.
Ted then offers ice cream for dessert, and they all get super excited in Chinese, and Sabrina runs off to see if Salem would want some. Finding him on his typical hamper, he quickly tells her to speak English before fighting his conscience and ordering 2 scoops of pralines and cream. As she heads downstairs, she hears a thumping coming from her room, eventually discovering it's coming from the magic book. Upon opening it, she discovers it's a friend of her father's, named Gail. She says she's looking for him, so Sabrina takes her to him. Upon finding out Gail is looking for him, Ted turns into a 16-year-old boy, and after hearing that she got out of court early as Drell disintegrated the judge, agrees to check and see if she can join them. Ted then goes on to explain to the family that Gail is more than just figure 4B, she's his girlfriend and has been for 10 months. Sabrina, shook, asks if Mom knows, and Ted kindly reminds her that they've been divorced for 6 years, which she doesn't believe, but eventually checks out with math.
Gail is my girlfriend.
You have a girlfriend since when?
We've been seeing each other for about 10 months.
Does Mom know about this?
Honey, your mom and I have been divorced for 6 years.
It has not been 6 years. I was 10 when you got divorced. I'm 16 now. That would make it 6 years.
When asked if they'd like to meet Gail, the aunties jump at the offer, and Sabrina agrees uninterestedly. This causes Ted to call Gail out, not for a fight, but this leads to her literally jumping out of the magic book with the help of mediocre CGI, giving us the line, "Boy, those margins are tight." Phil.
Yes, Sal.
Let's head over to Happy Town and pick up a little Chinese, shall we?
Yeah, the magical garden.
Yes. How offensive is this Chinese dinner scene? Because the entire joke is just white people are speaking Chinese.
Okay, so let me tell you, Al. I am one to not get very offended on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
I know the last episode you were talking to Chris about the full moon beauty parlor.
Yeah, the salesperson.
Yes, the salesperson there. I don't think that was very offensive.
Okay.
Now, on this though, this was pretty crazy.
Ted especially.
I mean, it was like, oh, who wants Chinese? I do. And then all of a sudden we have to speak Chinese and wear Chinese garb. And, oh, look, there's a Peking duck. Oh, who wants duck? It's like, I'm like, how more offensive? The only thing more or less, I guess, the only thing that could have been more offensive in this whole situation was if, like, they grabbed a cat and, like, oh, we're going to skin a cat because that's what Chinese people do and eat that. Like, no, this is totally wrong.
If Ted, like, picked up his plate and, like, sat at the piano playing chopsticks while eating, just, like, hammer the note home. Honestly, like, I actually looked it up. I'm pretty sure that their pronunciation is them actually trying to speak actual Chinese. They weren't just asked to make Chinese sounds.
No, I think these were they were probably trying to speak Chinese.
Right. But, I mean, it gets particularly bad once Ted says, I think he says, like, he's super full, and he pulls, like, a Yanni face, but, like, he rubs his belly, and that Yanni face gives him very thin eyes. It's incredibly offensive. It also might be the cover art for this episode of The Witch Trial, so look for that.
I mean, I think, like I said, I'm not one to get very offended on things, but this was pretty offensive.
I also thought it was kind of fucked up that Ted's been seeing this girl for like 10 months, and he never told anyone in his family, including his daughter. Like, if the girl at Dunkin' Donuts gives me 2 pieces of lemon in my tea instead of 1, I start going through my high school yearbook telling people. You tell your family these things, Ted.
The thing that I think was hilarious was that, Sabrina went upstairs to ask Salem in her Chinese garb if he wanted some ice cream, and he did say,
tells him to speak English.
He said speak English. So then she magically puts back the beige on beige.
Yeah.
And magically she can speak English again. That's
the traditional garb of Caucasians, Phil.
But as to speak Chinese, you have to wear Chinese garb, Al.
Yes.
Once you release the garb, you can speak English.
Absolutely. You do. The best part is, like, Ted is wearing one of those, like, stereotypical, like, little Chinese hats with the little, like, the little tassel hanging off. It is really skating on the border of, like, calling up the FCC and complaining.
I mean, it was pretty terrible. But I mean, it was the 90s.
Yeah, people didn't know as well. It was only the late 90s.
I mean, it was the late 90s. People didn't understand. People didn't get as easily offended. But looking back on it, it was probably a little bit offensive.
Speaking of offensive, the CGI of Gail hopping out of the book is pretty bad. Like, her jumping out is not that bad, but if you go back and watch it, watch Ted watching her, because his neck and face are, like, made of rubber. Like, it just bobbles all over the place. It's ridiculous.
Now, we did meet Gail.
We did.
And do you know who Gail is?
I do. This I did know. This is like
Okay.
one of those Sabrina facts I have in my head.
Okay.
She's played by Charlene Furnetz, I believe it's pronounced, and she's probably most famous for playing, well, at least on this podcast, she definitely is, for playing Aunt Zelda in the Sabrina the Teenage Witch movie, which preceded this show.
That is correct, Al.
She was also on a show called Street Justice from 1991 to 1992.
I can't get anything past you today, Al.
Oh, I've got my IMDb open, buddy.
Oh, that's all right. I already got you on the beast. On the
You did.
beast.
You did. Anything else out here, Phil? You want to move on?
We can move on. Let's,
All right.
Yeah.
So, discount Helen Hunt then introduces herself before Hilda begins the traditional grilling of the girlfriend. We then cut to a terrible ice cream shop set where Hilda takes a photo of Gail, Ted, and Sabs that blinds them all, but it does make Ted's smile ping. Ping might also be his Chinese name. Gail then gets back to the story about how she and Ted met during a blood drive and how they both have rare E-negative blood. But just before she can deliver her obvious and unfunny joke punchline, Sabrina cuts her off with a story about getting an A on her test.
Bitch.
Honestly, here we go. Ring the bell. When ding ding. When Gail finally does get to her punchline of "I guess you're my type," nobody laughs. But Hilda does give us a wonderful, "Oh right, blood." I really enjoyed that.
So, what did you say? I said, I guess you're my type. Because of the E-negative thing?
Oh, right! Blood!
Very clever.
The ice cream then arrives, and Sabrina starts throwing some serious shade, discussing the strata of a sundae, before mentioning that she probably notices that because her mom is an archaeologist, bitch. Gail then says that it looks incredible, before accepting a taste of the sundae from Ted, only to have it snatched away from Sabrina as there isn't enough hot fudge for all three of them, and, in all honesty, she has coffee. Ted then angrily tells her that maybe she should get her own. Or rather, maybe they should get her own, not like telling her to get lost. And while Hilda worries about Ted using the voice and having to pay Disney for it, Gail says she didn't come to steal Sabrina's hot fudge, which is her nickname for Ted. She only wanted a bite. This leads Sabrina to offer Gail the cherry as she doesn't like them, and honestly that does make two of us. I can't stand cherries. Back at home, the family tries to continue their monster fun weekend with a game of charades, though Zelda and Ted are adamant about not being on Hilda's team. Sabrina bows out, however, as she's going to take Salem his ice cream and then she's got some homework to do on Friday night. The adults then note how hard Sabrina is taking this news before Ted endeavors to have a talk with his daughter. Upstairs, Sabrina throws Salem his ice cream and walks away, as he complains that she has to open the bag for him. His luck doesn't improve any when Ted walks by, as he blows him off to head into the room to speak with Sabrina. Phil.
Yes.
Discount Helen Hunt. What'd you think of her?
Of Gail?
Yeah, Gail.
I thought Gail was very sweet, actually.
I thought that she's real fun in the ice cream parlor when she's delivering that line about "you're my type." I guess you're my type, because then she goes on to explain because of the blood thing. I thought that was really funny, and she does like these hand motions, which I really enjoyed. It's like, because of the blood thing.
I think it was great. The whole scene. The thing I didn't think was great was old bitchy Magoo just bitching around, just all about her.
Here's where we're gonna split up like two rivers flowing from the same neck.
That's
because
all good.
I fucking love bitch Sabrina. Oh, it's like the sweetest dessert of them all. Fuck the sundae. Like just getting to see Sabrina be like overtly a bitch instead of just like subtly, or not even subtly a bitch, is like, we can find her being a bitch is now finally the topic of the episode, as opposed to just something everyone notices.
I mean,
I love it.
Although she went from like a shady bitch to like, full on like bitch mode.
It was great. Like, I think my favorite line is probably "She has coffee." Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like,
she
bitch has
has
got coffee.
God, fucking, she's a needy one, isn't she, Dad? Like, and also just the notion that like my mom's an archaeologist, so I notice these things. My mom, who was sleeping with my dad before you, and they were married for like a decade, and they probably still love each other. Bitch, it's so good. It's the tastiest of all. I do want to also touch on this, talking about that Sunday. Why the fuck are 3 people sharing one Sunday? Like,
maybe hard times in the old Spellman household.
He's not getting the tips from the Edgar Allan Poe Society that he used to.
I mean, that Chinese banquet probably cost him a freaking arm and a leg.
Oh yeah, all those the music, all those costumes. Jeez. Honestly, like, Zelda has her own ice cream and she's model thin. Just order more.
I mean, yeah, it's okay. You don't have to share. This is America. We could all have our own.
Like, Hilda's drinking some like gross pineapple looking drink. I don't know what it was. It was weird. Gail made the smartest decision of them all with coffee.
I'm with her. I would have drank a coffee there too.
Although I will say this: if you are like hanging out with your significant other's family for the first time, that's not the time to be like, "Oh, you guys are all eating fattening desserts. I'll just have coffee." They're gonna look down on you.
That's true.
You get in with the group and you order some sort of fatty chocolate thing.
Yeah, at least gone for like a non-fat yogurt or something,
Yeah, like going with coffee is like the standoff bitch order.
Yeah, just go with the froyo.
And this is coming from a standoff bitch, so trust me. What'd you think here, Phil?
All in all, in the scene, like I said, she was. You could see that it was upsetting her that she saw her dad finally with somebody else besides her mom.
Yeah,
and it was really getting to her. And
it does work on that level, definitely.
And I think it's something that most teenagers in that situation could relate to. Mm-hmm. When someone is now with their father or mother or whoever it may be, they finally find someone else, and I think that would be a natural reaction for most people.
Right, and I think that's why the fact that Ted hadn't informed his family of Gail earlier on kind of like stuck out in my mind. Is like, yeah, this is obviously what's going to happen. Your daughter's obviously going to be hurt because you just sprung the notion that you're dating and have been dating someone for almost a year on her. Of course she's going to be confused and like protective.
Right. I did like that. I did like that Sabrina brought the ice cream back for Salem. And just left it there, and then poor Salem's like, "I don't have thumbs. Can you please open this for me?"
It is great. I think Nick Bakay does a great job, like delivering his lines there, especially when like Ted walks by. He's like, "Oh, Ted, thank God, here, help me out." And like, nah, fuck off, Salem.
Thank God, Ted, please, Ted or Ed or whatever your name is.
Eduardo, help me out.
Beast, help me.
Where's Lumiere when you need him? God damn it. All right. In Sabrina's room, Ted says that they have to talk about her problem with Gail, which she denies having, but illustrates when he asks if she can come to the ice show with them. Ted says that he has to move on. They all do. But Sabrina just goes into some oddly specific fantasy about her parents reuniting and working at a small university, like Miami of Ohio.
Go Redhawks.
Yes, one of us knows that alma mater way more than the other one. Phil didn't go there, but he's been there many times.
I have been there many times.
Ted then shoots that idea down, and not only because he doesn't want to live in Ohio, but he asks her to come downstairs and give Gail a chance, which she agrees to do as she's a big person. Judging by the way her ass looked in those pants, I agree. In a good way. Ted tells her then that she can be on Hilda's charades team, leading her to grouse as they go downstairs, passing Salem, just ripping into his bag of ice cream to get his frozen treat. Downstairs, Ted walks in on the auntie showing Gail a photo album and a pic of him in a kilt, not suitable for Snapchat, causing Ted to break out the Beast voice. Trademark Disney. Sabrina then says that she wants to hear all about Gail before asking about her job, how long they've been dating, and for God knows what reason, if they'll get married, which they split on, she saying yes, he saying no, causing an argument.
So you think you'll get married?
No.
Yes. Did you say no?
Yes, didn't you?
No.
You said yes?
Yes.
When I said no?
Yes.
That's not good.
No.
Are you upset?
Yes.
Would you like to talk?
No.
I think we should.
Yes. Okay. I know we've never discussed this, but I thought marriage was where we were heading.
Not me. Gail, you know I've done the marriage thing.
Well, I haven't, and I'd like to.
After the argument, Gail looks for a page in the magic book to reevaluate everything they've ever said to each other. And with the sounds of unnecessarily hard rock guitar, she leaps into the magic book. The aunties tell Ted to go after her, which he does, but he gets bounced out quickly, noting that she wants to be alone. Sabrina then walks over, just coyly closes the magic book, and happily asks who's for charades. The next day, we see Sabrina coming downstairs to find that her dad spent the night opening every jar in the house, and unfortunately, she's not in the mood for gherkins for breakfast. Ted then comes down, and Sabrina freaks out as he's not dressed for the ice show yet, despite the fact that he's a witch and can dress immediately. After finding out that his pajamas are not acceptable attire for the ice show, he goes to change and does so quickly as Harvey just rang the bell. Sabrina then heads to answer the door and finds Harvey in his best applying for a loan outfit. Ted then arrives and greets Harvey with a cordial handshake, and the two set about doing what all dads and new boyfriends do when they're left alone: remain totally silent, staring at each other until the girl, in this case Sabrina, returns so they can leave. I believe Sabrina went to retrieve her incredibly technologically advanced camera. Phil.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about the scene with Gail and Ted and Sabrina and all the awkwardness.
Yes. No. Yes. No. God, that was terrible.
I mean, I think that bit's actually, I mean, it's kind of cleverly written. It's not the best in the world, but if you're Sabrina, and I think this kind of illustrates that Sabrina's still trying to break them up, because, like, this is the one question you don't fucking ask. Like, of all the questions, how's the sex life? That's a better question to ask your dad and his girlfriend that you just met than you think you're going to get married.
I mean, if I had to ask two questions, probably
Yes.
those are the two I would not ask.
Right. Does he use the voice in the sack? That's a question I would ask.
Yes, yes.
No? Oh, sorry, Gail.
No.
But I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, part of me likes to think that she is trying to break them up here by asking, just because, like, what other reason would she have for asking if they're going to get married?
I mean, I think yes, I think I have to agree with you. I think she's trying to pin them against each other. Maybe not break them up, but definitely pin them against each other.
Also, as bad as an effect of Gail jumping out, as bad as the effect of Gail jumping out of the magic book is, the effect of Gail, like, and also Ted, leaping headfirst into the magic book looks exponentially worse and more stupid.
No, I think the only thing dumber is the Ted jumping in and back out. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
There is actually a dumber one we're going to get in a little while, but we'll get there when we get there.
And then of course, then the next day, he's opened up all the jars in the house.
Yep.
Harvey comes in his best insurance salesman garb he could find.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to tell you the good word.
I mean, it was funny because did you actually like look at the ensemble he had on?
Yes, it was like a black or dark blue jacket with like khaki pants.
Yes, so he almost looked like
it looks like a Yaley.
a Yaley, exactly. So,
also, I don't know if you noticed this, but when we do get that shot in the kitchen with all the open jars, my eyes would not stop staring at this gargantuan jar of olives on the counter.
Yes.
Like, who needs that many fucking olives?
Answer, like, I do.
Like, listen, the Spellmans do not have some sort of weird martini addiction, and they're not Greek.
Not that you know of.
Olives are great. I don't need, like, what is easily a 20-pound jar of olives.
I mean, it was literally a barrel of olives.
It is ridiculous. If you haven't seen it, as big a jar of olives as you're thinking it is, it's actually slightly bigger than that.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of regular sized like marmalade jars, and like there's a jar of fluff, and there's some other jars of olives, kind of oddly. But there's this one massive set piece. Like, I like to think that their prop department had to build a jar of olives this big because they couldn't find one.
Al, I think it's time for us to go to the arcade. What do you think?
Let's do it, buddy. All right, this is going to be Phil's centerpiece of the episode.
Oh man, you have no idea. It's Trash City.
We then cut to the arcade. Sorry, we then go to Westbridge with a couple of arcade games in the cafeteria, where we see a montage of Ted playing some games while obviously missing Gail, including him going full Rodney King on one of those alligator whack-a-mole games. We then cut to the ice show, where after getting bored with her spinning sparkle flashlight, Sabrina self-servingly injures Olympic gold medalist Katarina Witt when Harvey calls her beautiful. See, she can be multiple kinds of bitchy in one episode. Ted then returns from the concessions with their treats, some raisins and some carrot juice, and he says that the line for sodas was too long. So I guess drink your gross drink, eat your gross food. After Sabrina leaves to get some real food, Ted asks to have a man-to-man conversation with Harvey, immediately terrifying him as it should. He asks Harvey about whether or not he thinks you ought to marry a woman if you love her, leading Harvey to think what he means Sabrina and him, again, horrifying him. When Ted eventually mentions taking a leap, Harvey just frantically tells him that he's only 16.
You mind if we have a talk? Man to man? No? Okay. Here's the question. If you love a woman, do you think you ought to marry her?
Well,
Sure, there are a million reasons not to, but are any of them any good?
a few might be.
But how do you know when you're ready? Maybe you never know. Maybe one day you just have to take that leap.
Sir, I'm only 16.
We then later see the aunties cooking up something disgusting with all the open jars before greeting Ted and Sabrina at the door with some sauerkraut dandies. Ted takes the whole plate of them for some unknown reason before deciding to go play solitaire, which I assumed was a euphemism for masturbation. Upstairs, Sabrina tells the aunties that she's really worried about how hostile her father has gotten, as he even threw his souvenir Scott Hamilton cup at Scott Hamilton, someone who I'm sure people knew about in 1997. Rest assured, though, as Sabrina believes that she has the perfect cure: satellite television. The aunties then explain to her that he's depressed because he misses Gail, and Hilda points to a photo we took earlier at the arcade, I believe, as evidence, noting that his smile is more a pang than a ping. Perhaps he changed his name. Sabrina decides that she has to do something and opts to go talk to Gail, leading her to dive headfirst into the magic book despite it being closed. She soon then arrives at the magic book index, where we meet the greatest Sabrina character ever. Phil, before we talk about Walker, James T, let's talk about the arcade. Give it to us.
All right, so Sabrina, says, I hope we stop at the arcade.
Yep.
And of course we have the arcade montage with horrible music.
It is oddly like it's kind of like it seems like a Chumbawamba backing track.
It's pretty much what it sounded like. And for 1997, it would be
on trend, yeah.
On trend, yeah. So we see Harvey and Sabrina shoot some baskets. Edward starts to shoot his basket, makes it, turns around to give a high five, but of course, there's no one there, and he puts on his sad face.
The funny thing is, all you have to do is like turn to his side and high five Sabrina or Harvey.
No, Al, this is the beast.
Because the funny thing is, if you think through that, and even if Gail were there, if he moved to where they are, when she turns around, she's gonna have nobody to high five.
Someone was gonna get left out.
Yeah, it's not like you're doing a train here where like go back of the line.
But yeah, it was funny because you could see like his anguish in his face, and of course Gail's not there. So then Sabrina plays Whack-A-Gator.
To be fair, he probably thinks like she's on a date with Gaston right now.
Oh, maybe.
No one fights like Gaston, Phil.
So then we go to Whack-A-Gator, and we're starting to, Sabrina's whacking the gator, no problem. And then, it's Ted's turn to whack the gator, and he literally starts beating the hell out of this machine.
I think my favorite part of that is like, it is not so much when he starts beating it, but like the first two like little cordial taps he gives on the gator.
Yes.
I love those. It's like bop,
Pop.
bop. And then he's like fucking pounds that damn thing.
and then he starts pumping ketchup on his hot dog.
Yeah.
Which is his first mistake. Who the hell puts ketchup on hot dogs?
Ugh, come on, buddy.
And then
no wonder she left you.
And then he just blows up the ketchup all over his hot dog, himself, everywhere. He gets ketchup everywhere.
What a disgrace.
Then Sabrina wants to take a picture with her magical camera of her dad, of Harvey, for some reason standing next to a trash can.
What kind of framing is this?
It's like, oh, stand next to this trash can here. Not like stand next to like the basketball machine that we were just playing.
Or the doors that say Westbridge High School.
Or anything else. But no, stand next to that trash can as I take this, this montage, as this montage ends.
Now, Dad, you get in the trash can and stick your head out.
So
Wonderful.
then we see Harvey does say that Katarina Witt is beautiful, and of course, old bitch Sabrina had to give her the finger on that one.
This is actually slightly worse than when remember, I think this is your first episode 4, where Sabrina hurts that football player so Harvey can play football.
This is absolutely worse because all she's like, he wanted to play in that one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was an end goal. Like, all he said was like, oh, she's beautiful. There's zero chance of Katarina Witt coming over and stealing Harvey from her.
Yeah. And also,
so why do you have to injure poor Katarina Witt? All she's doing is trying to make some money here at the Ice Capades with your dumb ass watching.
This is why her career never went anywhere after this.
Well, she broke her leg. I mean, she literally Nancy Kerrigan her.
What a shame. I think it's also funny that Ted doesn't realize it, but he's asking the worst person possible for advice about something. Like, of all the people in that stadium to ask about like dating advice, Harvey's probably the last one you'd want. Like, you can't even ask him what you should give your girlfriend, because he'll just be like, well, mitten minders, of course.
Yes, don't you? Let me tell you, that's how I get her in the sack. I got her some mitten minders.
Yes, you fucking.
I did like that he yelled like, "I'm only 16."
It's pretty good. It is pretty good by Nate Richard, that acting there. Also, the thing that irritated me the most, and by far the worst book jumping of them all. How do you jump into a closed book?
And why are we jumping into books? I mean, last time,
another fair question.
I mean, you have a magical freaking linen closet that will take you anywhere in the Elder Realm. Why do you have to jump through a book?
Makes no sense.
Why?
Makes even less sense when you already established that the book has to be open, and then you just like, she could have opened the book.
Right. Or
she literally goes headfirst into a closed book. I would have loved it if she just bounced off it headfirst and then splatted on the ground.
It would have been funny if she like bounced back like, oh, I forgot to open it. See, that would have been cute. Like oh,
rubbing her neck.
Yeah, like, oh God, I forgot to open that book. But none of that. It's like, okay, like let's just do it.
Yep. Also, Zelda, when Sabrina brings up the notion of giving her father a satellite TV, Zelda says that she doesn't think pay-per-view will make him happy. If I'm right about the masturbation, I'm pretty sure it will help.
500 channels.
I mean, if I remember pay-per-view from satellite TV when I had it, there's a lot of pornography on there.
there's a lot of.
Anything else to add here, Phil?
No, I think we're good. I covered everything.
Okay, so then Sabrina meets, as I said, the greatest Sabrina character of all time, perhaps, Walker, James T, the indexer of the magic book. Sabrina tells him that she, Spellman, Sabrina J, is looking for a Gail, but that she doesn't know her last name. This leads James to scream cross-reference, as there are 1,332 Gales in the other realm, which kind of seems low, in all honesty, but that's me.
Cross-reference!
Starting with Aardvark, Gale Q.
Pleased to meet you. Now, who are you looking for?
Her name is Gail.
Last name first!
I don't know her last name.
Cross-reference! You know anything else about her?
She's a lawyer.
There are 1,332 lawyers named Gail. You can start with Aardvark, Gail Q.
I don't have time to go through 1,000 Gales.
Then I need more information.
After Sabrina notes that Gail likes hot fudge, James tells her that, fuck off. We don't keep information on ice cream topping preference. But they do keep information on things like, I wrote hoe size here, but I assume I meant shoe size. Neck size. How big a hoe are you? Birth date. Last book read, blood type, skin pH, fatal flaw, and etc. Sabrina notes that she knows Gail is type E negative, finding that there are only 2 Gales in the other realm with that rare blood type. And since Gail isn't scaly, #scale, she is looking for Kipling, Gail, page 875. Sabrina then uses James's tube lift to get there, not jumping into a different book. Why? Why not?
Just bend your knees there.
She does bend her legs, and this leaves James to wonder where in the hill, Sam, his glasses are. At Gail's office, Sabrina pops in to talk, but Gail says that she's busy exploring the profit potential of Drell suing himself. When Sabs notes how much her father misses her, Gail says that she can't think about that while she has these papers on her desk. She has to get these papers off her desk before she can think about that. We all see where this is going.
Ugh.
Sabrina then makes the obvious and terrible joke and blows the papers off her desk. It's as if the flash ran right through here.
I'm working.
But you can't just stop seeing him.
I'm sorry. I can't think about Ted or anything else until I get these papers off my desk.
Then let me help you.
What do you think you're doing?
Your desk is clear. Now can we talk?
You've got 5 minutes.
Good.
After telling her off, and rightfully so, Gail gives Sabrina some time, which she uses to go over all of Ted's good points. Gail notes that she knows all of these. That's why she wants to marry him. But he said no to her. Sabrina tells her that Ted's just freaked out and he is learning how to move past the divorce, and notes that the question Gail should be asking herself is whether or not she likes Ted. Gail then concedes the fact that love between 2 people is stronger than any legal document, even if she's not allowed to admit it at work. We then quickly see the reuniting of Gail and Ted, leading to a hug between the 2, and even a pinging smile from old Edward, Eduardo.
Ping! Pingy.
Old Tedgar Allan Poe, if you will.
The Beast.
That's pretty good. Phil.
Yes.
Let's go back to the index office, buddy.
Okay.
Walker, James T. He's played by, this one I actually did note down. He's played by Patrick Thomas O'Brien, and holy fuck, I mean, he's playing this 45 seconds of camera time for all it's worth.
I mean, I think if anybody was the best character in this episode, was definitely him.
Absolutely. I mean, he's frantic, he's lively, he's so much fucking fun to watch, and he's like an incredibly rounded character for the 1 minute that you see him. Like, you instantly get what the character is, you understand how he thinks, what he thinks, like you can predict his moves. Like, you get a lot of information, a lot of understanding about James T. Walker in a minute. It's really quite impressive.
I agree. I mean, I think it was, like you said, probably one of the better characters this season so far.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, he's got so many funny little things. Like, at one point when he goes to tell Sabrina that one of the Gales has a high skin pH, he covers the birds in his office so that they don't hear him giving away information.
That's right.
I love it so much. The actor, rather, Patrick Thomas O'Brien, will actually return multiple times in the series playing Cupid.
I thought so. I thought he looked familiar.
Yeah, he's gonna put on a real poorly fitting diaper and ungrease his hair, and he's gonna be around. He's like a big character actor. He's been in like one episode of every series in the 90s and early 2000s. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but outside of Gail's office, because she does have a window, she has a nice window office, for some reason is the Great Wall of China.
Well, that's why Ted likes Chinese food. He always goes over to her office to eat some.
Honestly, makes a whole lot of sense.
There you go.
Where the fuck is the other realm?
China, it sounds like, Al.
Is it other realm China? The funny thing is, honestly, this is one of the things that really kind of drives me crazy, and it's why I don't think about it. It's like, you go through to a parallel dimension, but you can see the Earth behind you, but the Great Wall of China is out your window. Like, what the fuck?
Well, it's like we discussed a few episodes back when we went to the moon to snowboard.
Yep.
It's like, so is it our moon? Is it their moon? Like, what moon is it? Like,
it's best left alone is what it is.
That's what I was told by a wise man.
Wiser than me, certainly. What do you have here, Phil?
Not much.
Did you like Gail's very late 90s office?
It was a very 90s office, wasn't it?
Yeah, it looks like.
And did you see that she was putting papers on the scales of justice?
Yes, I kind of like that. I think that's a very Roman thing.
What is that?
I think that's from maybe Egypt, maybe Rome. I don't know, but I think that was used to judge the legality of something, like the number of laws that supported what you did as opposed to the number of laws that opposed it.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think that's what that comes from. I may just be making it up, but I do have a poli-sci degree, so I couldn't be doing that.
But in any case, I was like, what is she doing? She's just putting these papers, these scrolls on the scale. I'm like,
That's
okay.
Great. She does also have a computer, but isn't using it. Nope.
Now, you said that I don't remember how far you got. How far did you get?
Right to the reunion of.
Okay.
I almost said reunition. That's not a word. Right back to the reunion of Gail and Ted.
Go ahead.
The ping.
I got a couple things after.
Perfect. In the kitchen, the aunties are disgustingly splitting up the rest of the jarred food, as Sabrina gives them the good news about Gail and Ted, before wondering about her mom and yearning to see her. Hilda says that she can see her with the magic sneak-a-peek, basically just a very gold magnifying glass that works with a map in her magic book. When she heads upstairs and uses it, Sabrina spots her mom digging up a skull, also digging that young worker, a young colleague she's moving with. But what are you gonna do? He had very long late 90s surfer hair. I noted. She is then relieved to see that her mom's doing so well, and leaves Salem to enjoy a shaft of light on the ceiling before pinging herself with a smile as the scene closes. As the credits roll, we see the Spellmans playing charades, with Sabrina acting out for Hilda. After Hilda guesses that it's a play with 6 and not 51 words, she basically blows every guess she guesses until Sabrina literally zaps Salem onto a tiny, very hot tin roof, leading Hilda to correctly guess cat on a hot tin roof for the win. And that's where the episode closes, Phil. Let's head to the kitchen. I will give Beth Broderick a lot of respect for her commitment to eat a spoonful of marmalade and capers.
Ugh.
I'm pretty sure she just put it in her mouth and spit it out when they called cut. Still, respect.
I mean, think about it. I mean, marmalade is super sweet,
Yep.
And then you have the capers, which are super salty. Ugh.
And the thing is, I fucking hate marmalade as it is.
Yeah.
So it's just putting salty capers on it. Gross. The thing is, if you were watching Caroline Ray eat, because I think she had marshmallow fluff and capers.
Yeah, she had a great day.
She was okay, but she was smart because when she put the capers on hers, she put them to one side, and then he's eating from the other side.
You're haha, watch this.
She put them on the side that's facing the camera, and she's pulling fluff out the back. Pulling fluff out the back is also one of Ted's favorite moves with Gail.
There you go. There's a great show title right there.
That is pretty good. I don't know. I had so much invested in Ted Beat Dad. I already drew up the artwork.
Just roll with Ted Beat Dad.
But yeah, then we get cat on a hot tin roof. I did think there is a great delivery of Caroline Ray first guessing 51 words, and then Sabrina giving her a bitch face. She's like, 6 words.
It's a play.
51 words. 6 words.
But did you see what Hilda was wearing though?
In the living room or in the kitchen?
In the kitchen, like a reptile green and black shirt with a black vest.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
remember
god!
This. For some reason, that didn't bother me that much. I don't know what it was. Like I kind of have that in my mind as like typical Hilda wear. So it's like that's kind of comforting to me because it's like, oh, she's wearing that Hilda outfit.
She's wearing the Hilda.
At one point in this episode, I don't think we touched on it when it came up, but Beth Broderick is wearing like black velvet pants with like a flower print on them.
Yes. Yes. I skipped that part. I had that noted. She has these, it looks like black flannel pants with flower prints, and then she wears the pea green overcoat on top of it.
Yes.
And it's just,
it's pretty bad.
Oh, that's pretty terrible.
Clearly, they spent all their money on this episode for the book jumping CGI.
Or to get Beast.
That's right. We got to get him back. He's pulling a high salary nowadays.
Tale as old as time.
God. Where's Mrs. Potts when you need her?
Poor Angela Lansbury.
I'm surprised. Maybe she was on an episode. Who knows?
She might seasons. Be. Come on, Al, tell me. Is she on an episode?
I don't know. You have to listen to every episode of The Witch Trials and find out.
Oh.
I mean, yay.
No, great.
You have to be on.
Just bring me back when you see Angela Lansbury's on.
That's right. That is the episode, though, Phil. And as you know, each episode of Sabrina's Witch Trials, we rank the episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch we just watched on a very special scale, the TGIF scale, the This Good I Feel scale, 1 to 5 scale. Each number has a corresponding TGIF show, and since we haven't done it in a while, let's do it right now. A 1 out of 5 is a You Wish, 2 out of 5 being a Teen Angel, a 3 out of 5 is a Hanging with Mr. Cooper, Hang In with Mr. Cooper, let's get that right. A 4 out of 5 is a Family Matters, and a 5 out of 5, a perfect, or very, very good at least, is a Boy Meets World. Phil,
yes,
rank this episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch on that scale.
Al, this episode I would say is between a Teen Angel and a Hanging on Mr. Cooper. I would say like a 2.5.
Ooh, pain. Now is it a high Teen Angel or a low Hanging on Mr. Cooper?
I think it's a high Teen Angel.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I think my opinion of this episode is thrown off somewhat by my fond memories of it. I think the one thing that works well with it is like you really get to explore the family dynamic of the Spellmans, which is something that even though, you know, the aunties and Sabrina are often like, you know, they often are shown as a family unit looking after each other. I really like the fact that you get to see like these characters in the Spellman family you don't get to see as often, and you get an episode all about Sabrina's immediate family and her father, and also it's fun to see like the Spellman aunties and their brother interact. So I like that aspect. That said, plot-wise, it's not the most interesting. Magic-wise, I mean, we get a couple of practical effects where like the table is spinning with the pasta sauce, or the pasta sauce is spinning, but besides that, there's not a lot of fun uses of magic. There is that great scene with James T. Walker, but besides that, I mean, it's a decidedly average episode, so I'm going to give this a high Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Oh, okay.
Yes. But we go to the main event now, Phil. The reason why everybody sticks to the end of the episode, not just to hear where they can follow Sabrina's Witch Trials on Twitter. It's at Sabrina Podcast. But they want to hear the Back of the Linen Closet Award, Phil, our episodic award for each installment's biggest fashion flop. Who gets your Back of the Linen Closet Award this episode?
I think there were a couple of outfits that have some mention to them, but I think the number one most terrible outfit this episode had to go to Harvey and his awful t-shirt, or his awful shirt.
Ah, the stripe deal.
Yeah, the peach and blue stripe shirt.
We are in total agreement here, Phil. It is an abomination. It is a travesty. I'm surprised that President Clinton didn't send like FEMA aid to the set after he wore this. It is that big of a national shame. I feel bad because I seem to remember Harvey dressing better than he does.
Well, I mean, you got to remember for our time period, this is 20 years later.
That is true.
So
20 it doesn't
years ago,
age well.
Yeah, it just doesn't age well. I mean, back then that probably was cool. We were like, oh man, look how cool his shirt is.
Phil, you were a high school student, roughly at the same age as them in 1997. Would you have worn that shirt?
No. I mean, I probably would have. I wouldn't. I'm not going to lie to you. I probably had shirts like that. If not
I was
worse.
gonna say you probably have actually worn worse shirts because we did not have the best clothes growing up.
I mean, I literally had like not lime green, but like hunter green jeans at one point.
Yeah, before that was cool. Like I know guys wear colored pants all the time. This is like the late 90s, and Phil's wearing, or mid 90s, and Phil's wearing like colored jeans.
Yeah, I mean, I was wearing because that's all we could afford back in those days.
Yeah. But now we can afford podcast microphones and everything. We moved on up. That's right. It's the American dream.
That's right.
Yeah, but we are in utter agreement. Harvey's confoundingly ugly striped shirt goes into the back of the linen closet this episode. Phil, thank you so much for being on Sabrina's Witch Trials again.
Alex,
always fun to have you.
It's always a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the invite every time.
All right, well, thank you, and we'll have you back real soon. And I do want to tell the listenership that you can follow Sabrina's Witch Trials on Twitter at Sabrina Podcast, on Instagram, instagram.com/Sabrina's Witch Trials, on Facebook, facebook.com/Sabrina's Witch Trials, and you can listen to us where you are on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, the Google Play podcast section, your favorite podcatcher of choice, or wherever better podcasts are aggregated. I also want to remind you guys that reviewing us in the iTunes store or wherever you can is wonderful. It definitely makes my day. Believe me, there are a few things that actually make me, the sarcastic asshole that you have grown to love, happy, but reading a review from a listener makes me very happy. And I actually got one just the other day from Martin Forsyth at marty.com on Twitter. So thank you for that review. And I hope everybody else reviews us in the iTunes section, iTunes podcast, wherever you can, and send me a screen grab, and I will shout you out.
Shout out.
That's right. I make good on my promises, except most of them. Episode 21 is going to be a fun one to review because there's a lot of just insane lunacy going on. It's As Westbridge Turns, an episode which I discovered today is either the lowest or second lowest rated episode of Sabrina Teenage Witch in terms of viewership for season 1. So while it is fondly remembered by a lot of people, it didn't really do that much on the day it aired. But until next time, I want to say thank you one last time for listening to Sabrina's Witch Trials, and we will see you in the other realm.
Now, where in the hill, Sam, did I leave my keys?